So a few days ago, I was told by Alex from Beyond the Void Horror Podcast that he had seen this movie, Hostile Dimensions, and it was one to look out for. It was found footage, and I was like, you know, you're speaking my language. And he said that the reason he got the screener is because he got in contact with Graham Hughes, who wrote and directed this, and that he hit him up on Twitter, and he just sent him a screener. So I tried my luck on Instagram, and I think with Alex's help, he actually saw that and then got me a screener. So, yeah, we got a screener. So, thank you to Graham and to Alex for making that happen.
Thank you.
So, this is about two documentary filmmakers who have a failure of a project and are looking for their next thing. And one of them turns the other one on to this internet video where these two people are out tagging. Is that what you would call it? Tagging?
Yeah, I think it's called tagging.
Okay.
I think.
And they find this freestanding doorway in the middle of a room. And when they open it, it goes to hostile dimensions. And of course they make a documentary chronicling their experience with this doorway after they track it down and bring it home, which was insane. Yeah, so this is a extremely ambitious film.
Yeah.
For what I'm assuming is a budget of very, very little. And this one is one of those like mixed bag movies for me where, you know, I definitely really enjoy things about it. I liked things about it, and then there's a few things that I was like, wasn't big on that, but I love the ambition. I like the swings, and yeah, we'll get into like the likes and the dislikes and everything, but overall, if you're a big found footage fan and you want to see something unique and somebody taking a big swing with a very little budget and you know, going into different dimensions, which is, you know, we you know, this isn't the first time that we've seen this. This story sounds oddly familiar. Since we ourselves made a video.
We did a short.
Very similar to this. And I was also writing a script about a doorway that appears in the middle of New York City.
Great minds. Great minds.
But there's also that segment in VHS Viral where the guy like goes through an alternate dimension doorway in his basement.
Oh, I kind of remember that.
Yeah. And so anyway, you know, it's impossible to be, you know,
solely original and not connected. Yeah, the zeitgeist kind of like flows through human minds. You often see a lot of projects that have similar themes around the same time popping up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I overall had a really good time with this. I might be a little higher on it than you, it sounds like, because I think overall I don't really have a ton of criticisms. I like all of the like tonal shifts, and really I love the Lovecraftian horror aspect of it, which I think is, you know, pretty like evident whenever you try to do horror involving other dimensions. I think that can come through naturally, and I think that they accomplished it pretty well here. It also sort of reminds me, like, the humor kind of reminded me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. Galaxy, I mean. Like that kind of humor, you know? But
I've never seen it.
I had a good time with it.
Or read it.
Oh, okay. I don't think I read it. I watched it.
Okay.
Like maybe once or twice.
The film is very silly in a lot of places. I shouldn't say a lot, but in certain places. And I think there's something that happens when they open up the door for the second time that I think will turn some viewers off.
It was unexpected. It is a very unexpected.
It's a very
interjection
very
of
silly,
humor.
Goofy, out of nowhere,
yeah,
unexpected. And I think that anybody who's looking to this for like a serious horror film, that will immediately turn them off, because that is super goofy.
I really loved it.
I know that
totally
you did, and
my
I don't.
Kind of thing.
I don't have an issue with it. I mean, I don't think it looked good.
Yeah,
there's some effects on it that are bad. But that kind of adds to the humor of it.
It adds to the charm, yeah.
So I'm not putting that in as a criticism per se for me. It's just for an audience out there who wants this to remain more serious. No, this movie very much goes in a goofy direction. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention also that this definitely was inspired, at least I would assume, once we get to about the midway point, or midway, that's funny.
Yeah.
But at least around the midway point, the Dark Tower, the drawing of three, doorways on the beach.
Yeah, there's some similarities there for sure.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, that's so far, I think that's like my favorite book in the Dark Tower series. So I love that. I love that concept of just doorways leading, anything that has to do with portals to other dimensions, whether it's a doorway or a cupboard or a cabinet. I think that that's such a cool concept, and it is very, this movie has, there's mention of like Reddit and 4chan and like creepypastas and stuff. So it definitely has that vibe to it of like weird core horror internet stories,
yes.
And I love that. It's something that I always get excited to see when it's translated into like a film, because it's been attempted a few times and it's not always successful. But I think that this was successful for me, because it does kind of encapsulate like the silliness of it along with the horror, and I think it's blended very well here. But,
yeah, they also mentioned the back rooms as well.
Yeah, the back rooms are it's in the background.
Yeah.
And as far as like, aside from maybe that one effect that looks a little silly, I think that there's some really good CGI for the budget in this. I thought that it looked fairly good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's again obviously lower budget, so it's nothing like, I don't know. Name any big
Avatar,
blockbuster. I was gonna say Avatar, but I was like, I feel like that's like way too extreme. But I thought it looked fine. I thought it looked really fine, and I think that there's some really clever, editing. Like, the brilliance of this kind of a story is that you can do a lot of it with editing, which was something that when we made our short, we like did it to play around with that, which is fun.
I wish we would have had a freestanding door frame.
Yeah.
To put our door on. I literally, in our video, I had to stand behind the door and just hold it straight up. We literally took the door off because people thought that was like editing.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we just literally took the door off the hinges in our apartment, and we drove it out into the desert. And filmed with it.
Way smarter to have like an actual freestanding door that you can work with, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, ours was.
I liked that the doorway had no frame though. That's I almost, preferred that in our video. Yeah. But it would make it's way harder.
It's a nightmare to try and do like in a large scale film.
And you can only film it from a certain level up,
right?
Because otherwise you'll see that it's like on the ground.
Yeah.
Although in one part of it, I actually held it up, which is ridiculous because I had to like make it swing as you were opening it, and I was on the other side of it, but I had to like hold it in a way where my hands weren't being shown. Jesus. But yeah, this feels like an amalgamation of a lot of ridiculous stories, or almost like we were driving home from a trip once, and you got to keep kids entertained, and you got to come up with different ideas of how to keep them entertained. And I'd come up with this idea of, I'm going to start a story, and then I'm going to throw it over to Kaylee, and then she's going to throw it back to you. And, I'm going to get it to a specific spot, and I'm going to be like, and then he opened the door, and over to you. And then she said something, and it was like, over to you.
Yeah.
It's kind of what this movie felt like. It felt like an amalgamation of like creepypasta, AG or ARG type stories that you read online, where everyone kind of has a different idea of what's behind the door.
Yeah, I like that though.
And one person's being really goofy,
Yeah.
And is not taking it seriously. And then another person is like trying to take it very seriously and is like trying to make it dark and gruesome. There's other people that are being very whimsical and like fantasy with it.
I think that works really well for this kind of concept, because I feel like whenever you deal with multiverse type of things, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, how it's just like there are so many infinite possibilities where like, yeah, some things are going to be like cosmic horror, like break your brain, like, oh my god, what is that? And then there's gonna be like really silly stuff that's just like, we have hot dogs for fingers, and I like that personally. I think that it works really well, but I do agree with you that like if you're somebody who's like wanting this to be a serious like horror film, that it isn't that, so just make sure your expectations are tailored.
There's a chase scene in this that definitely was inspired by Doctor Strange.
Really cool.
There's also another thing in here that another element in here that I think it was inspired by Beetlejuice. So yeah, I mean, I think now consciously or unconsciously, I don't know if Graham Hughes, or maybe not, maybe this is just all from his brain. But we
at least noticed similarities.
It was, it was an entertaining film that really took a lot of risks with its ideas, and was more successful than it wasn't. And totally. I think that's super impressive. And I think it's absolutely worth your time if any of that sounds interesting and fun to you. So yeah. Once again, Graham, thanks for sending this over. Thanks for ripping off our idea.
No.
No. I mean, this is not an original concept, as we had talked about. Doors to a different dimension kind of thing. Yeah. This is a tale as old as time.
Totally.
But to see it in a found footage like this, and it to be the sole focus of the story. Oh, there's also a nod to a gag that's in Thor Ragnarok. Or is it Ragnarok? I think it's Ragnarok. No, it's not Ragnarok. It's a different one. It's another Marvel movie. It is Ragnarok. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about with that one. But...
Something with Loki.
I don't know.
I'll tell you what it is when this is over. Graham probably will know what I'm talking about, but it has to do with something that one of them finds in the basement.
I see. Yes, it's
anyway.
Cool, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I could probably pick apart a couple other things here and point out a couple other things here that I find to be similar to other things, but that's just it. Our brains, they like to cherry pick all of the things that have stuck with us over the years when we create our own stuff.
Totally.
We're just an amalgamation ourselves of all the things that have inspired us over the years. And it's kind of impossible to not draw inspiration from our past creative watchings and readings and whatnot. So, yeah. Had a good time. I was always engaged and looking forward to the next scene. Because this is low budget, because this is like a small production, I don't want to harp on things too much. I will say the acting it's all over the place for me. Like, I think it's mostly good, but I think there's a range to it. And there's like a dramatic scene between two characters at the very end where it's supposed to be like a big moment. And the performance there is not good. And as I said, I don't want to harp on that kind of stuff at all, because it's such a playful film that I don't think it really matters.
Yeah. I feel... I know what you're talking about. Like, I know the scene. I can understand it. I enjoyed the performances overall.
Also, there was mention of lobsters.
Oh yeah, that's also the lobstrosities.
I'm thinking that's connected to the drawing of the three as well, with the lobstrosities rolling out of the waves.
Dark Tower fans.
Yeah.
We should go to Midworld.
Yeah. All right, guys.
All right.
Let us know. We'll see you in the comments.
Bye.